do that now. Recording has been started.
Perfect.
Alright, so we gotta be careful about getting that aggro. So when you're on Genji, your playstyle in general can be summed up as you're an opportunist. So when you poke and you poke and you poke and you engage when you see somebody who's out of position, maybe honest by yourself, you engage when you see something that's low that you can dash through and finish. You engage when you have blade, but we don't want to just go in when there's no opportunity at all. So here, for example, when we go in initially, I accidentally went too far back. So here, for example, we could go in on this because right now Ana is by herself, and yes, really the only person who could help her right now would be Echo, right? Brig and Ryan can't help too much besides give her armor, so we could get a little bit more aggressive on the Ana here. But in this scenario right here, this is where we do not want to dash in because right now we are dashing into 4 people who can all shoot at us, and on top of that, multiple of them have stuns, right? Ana has stun, Brig has stun. They have a. Do they have a McCree? No, we have a McCree. So 2 stuns that can get us. Reinhardt can swing on us, so we're getting within Reinhardt's swing distance, which we also don't want to do. So this is just a very aggressive dash, which is what results in us dying here. So we can't. And then the other thing is, whenever we're dashing in, we always want to have a plan in our head of how are we getting out. So in this example, we don't really have that plan, and then we just result, and that is what ends up in us dying. So it's just kind of a wrongful engagement, and we probably shouldn't have gone in that aggressively. Instead, we can poke and poke and poke until we get an opportunity. Yeah, once in a while you can go for dashes just to get ult charge and go for dashes through people, but it always has to be in a safe scenario where you have a way to get out. Maybe you skip to a high ground, maybe use deflect to get out. But we don't want to just dash into the middle of a whole team and then have no way to escape.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. I'm getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of breathing out of your mic. Do you maybe
Yeah,
have
I can move it.
yeah, also I think there's like a on voice activity, there should be like a an option where you kind of have a scale where you can set how much it detects, and there's also like noise suppression on Discord if you want to check those out at some point, but doesn't have to be now if you don't want to. I also don't hear it now, so you're good.
Alright, perfect. There we go.
Okay, whenever you're close enough to hit all 3 shurikens with a right click, that means that you're gonna want to be swapping from left clicking to right clicking. So that means that here when we're going into these tanks, or even if sometimes at a range, if you're going into a bunch of people, you want to be right clicking because it's gonna be faster than your left clicks as you're launching them all at once, and it's coming out at a faster pace than your individual left clicks are. So when we're closer to them like that, we want to be right clicking. Okay, yes. So this is an example. Reinhardt's out of position, right? Very far forwards, overextended. This is a position where we can dash in and secure the kill, get a really aggressive on him. And good dashes. Yeah, I like that we got passive there. Okay. Good place. Probably I would go for the Ana over the Zarya there, but we could. I think the Zarya is an okay play. Going for the Ana might have been easier, and if honest, I think someone else went for Ana. Up there we have some people fighting. We had someone else go for Ana, but if nobody else went for Ana, then Ana would just have free healing this whole time. So keep in mind when it comes to target priority, especially for you as Genji, a lot of the time it's going to be their backline, and we'll talk more about that if that becomes a big issue. Okay, it looks like tracking, just general tracking might be a thing. Sometimes it is looking good, but then other times we seem to be losing people. So make sure that when you're trying to hit people, you're just really focusing on staying on the person and not make sure you're not losing them, because that is the second time so far that we've lost track of where people are at. Alright, now we're approaching a fight with Blade. We just used a nano boost, so that's unfortunate. But we have some other things that we can try to do. So, for example, we can ask for a bubble when we go for Blade. It is probably going to be the biggest thing you can do here to help support your Blade up. Even if you have if you did have the nano bubble, it's still going to help stop you from getting bashed, slept. It's going to stop you from getting shattered, right? So we can get through Blade a lot easier with a lot less damage coming to us.
Enemy contact.
Yeah, I really like the timing it when we engage here, as we were doing it when they're all in a tiny little choke point. You might want to scout it a bit more before you're blading, though, as we do blade even before we can even see anything, right? So it's good timing from where we can hear, but we also, because of the timing, they kind of escape really fast. So could have let them come in a little bit further, right? Let's say like we let them come in a little tiny bit further. Where are they instinctively gonna go when we start blading?
To the point.
So
Or back.
back,
Back.
right? They're probably going to try to run backwards, and then that puts them inside of the choke. Here, when they run backwards, all of the squishy targets end on the other side of the choke. So that just, you might want to give them an extra second or two to walk through. Okay, but I really liked the blade timing there. Again, we're losing track of the Ana, so just make sure we're trying to make sure we're keeping track of people. Looking like that is an issue that keeps repeating. A good escape there.
Double kill.
Okay, so here on the Ana, let's rewatch this real quick. Yeah, that's a distance where if you see two shurikens go past her, this is where we should be left clicking. As well as the fact that when we're dashing here, we want to follow this up immediately with a melee, so that you're hitting her, and killing her there. Most dashes are gonna want to be followed up with a melee, as that is just a really good combo to burst something down, especially when the melee's finishing them off. As using a melee to finish someone off can be a really good burst of damage.
Double kill.
Okay. In between the fight, I'd like to see us repositioning back up to high grounds. High grounds are where we're gonna have it's gonna be one of the best positions in the game. Gives us a lot of visibility, gives us survivability. It all acts as natural cover, right? If we're up on high grounds and see people on point, and they're all shooting at us, right? All we have to do is just back up away from the ledge, so it acts as natural cover. So we probably want to be repositioning up on high ground, because the place where most of them are going to be coming out of is top left, and that allows us to contest, for example, the Ana. If Ana sits on the top left, if their Echo decides to sit top left, right? So just allows us to contest them a bit better, and gives us better angles and survivability. So after every single fight, we want to be looking to reposition back up to that good positioning.
Get here. The payload has reached the checkpoint. Get in there.
All right. We're gonna leave and go over something real quick.
Okay.
So, it's possible that we went over this last time. So just as a reminder, if you haven't, did we go over crosshair placement last time?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. All right. So then, I just re-emphasize that point. Is a lot of the shots that we're hitting are body shots, so we want to make sure that we're keeping a head level when we're shooting, especially if we're just spam shotting down corridors. But we want to make sure that we're keeping head level while we're shooting, so that we're hitting these headshots, and especially when we're like dashing in at people, that we're aiming head level, so that we're hitting headshots, not just dashing in and hitting every single body shot, because a lot of the time we're hitting all bodies, and then that means that we're not really getting as much damage as we could be getting in, right? Now with your right click and left click range, that's something that it seems to be a little bit iffy with. I haven't demonstrated this much in training range, so I'm actually gonna have to find what the distance is, but on tanks this is gonna be bigger. So your right click is when you're at close range, right? So here we're only hitting one shuriken, so obviously we're gonna be doing much better with a left click, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When it's a tank, you can be a little bit more lenient with it because they have bigger hitboxes, and then on top of that, when you're dealing with like when they're all grouped up in a bunch, then all of your right clicks are going to be hitting them, right? So that's where we can be looking to right click as well. So it looking like if it's on one single person and we're trying to focus one person from 20 meters, you should probably be left clicking unless it's a tank. And then if this is a team or a tank, then we could probably be right clicking anywhere within 20 meters. But again, if we're trying to focus one thing down specifically, then we're going to be going for left clicks on it, especially if it's just if we're just dueling one person on their own, right? Anything past this, we're probably going to want to start to use right clicks, or not right clicks, sorry, I messed that up. Anything past that, we're going to start to use left clicks, as that's going to be a lot more accurate for the range route, but it is going to be firing a little bit slower in comparison to our right click, so we're going to be getting less damage per second out. So you just want to make sure that you're getting that down, so we're hitting the right ones. And then just as your dash combo, we're going to be either left clicking or right clicking depending on the distance we're at, dashing in, meleeing, and then we can add in another right click if we need to. Okay, so shoot, dash, right click because we're too far away for the melee, right? So dash. Actually, you know, with the melee, it's hard. Usually I probably say you only do the melee if it's finishing off them. Otherwise, I like to go immediately for the right click because you can kind of combo that in correctly. So yeah, typically you can just right click right away after the dash. So melee is going to be coming out if they're 1 HP and you're finishing them off, especially if you land some good shots in before that, before you're going in. So you kind of have to know what health they're at, because the melee can burst them down just an extra little bit faster, but your right click can help you if they're higher HP, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Arriving at watch point Gibraltar. Ready for battle.
Alright, so we're right around here. Okay, so if we're kind of looking at where we're keeping a crosshair at, it's kind of low in comparison to Reaper, right? Just look at this. That's just where your crosshair's sitting. Okay, good kills. I like the right click dashes. Alright, so here we have a Nano Blade. So in this scenario, we're pushing cart pretty far in. We just got a bunch of staggers. I would imagine that this next fight that we get in is going to be last fight rather than us needing 2 fights here. So we might even need to be able to just get away with using everything. You're gonna have to gauge how far along is cart. If cart is passing like the halfway point here, we're gonna need 1 single fight. If the fight starts and cart still hasn't progressed much, that means that we want to either hold on to Nano Blade or hold on to some of the other ults. So we have to really pay attention to that. Otherwise, we're going to be over ulting and using everything all at once, which we don't want to do. But if we can very easy. If the cart gets far enough, we can look for a grab Nano Blade. Again, request that the Zarya gives you bubble.
Step right up.
Okay, so cart has gotten far enough. This is where we're looking for our ultimate. Okay, so is she already? So problem is that we're waiting too long with it. With your ultimate, first off, we've held onto it for a couple of fights, but we have won those fights, so that is fine. first off, you don't want to hold on to your ultimate. So if those fights were looking at all unwinnable, then we hold on. Then we use it. But now the problem with this fight is that we hold on to our ultimate and we don't use it first. Ultimates that are used first get more value than ultimates that are used second because of the reason. For example, let's say Reaper here. Reaper uses ult, he gets 2 picks, therefore they have pretty much won this fight already, or they have a very good chance of winning this fight as they have close spawns and your McCree is also 1 HP, so he could actually, I don't know, is he gonna die here? And they also, yeah, so McCree dies too, right? So they've won this fight. And the reason why is because we waited on our blade. So whenever you have your ultimate, you want to look to use it at the very beginning of a fight, because if we're using it halfway through a fight, like at the very end of a fight, then their ultimates just get more value because they got picks with it, and then now they're up players, and then when you're down players, your ultimate's just going to get less value. And even if we get a bunch of kills with it, we might not even have enough people to cap, because we might only have like 3 people alive. So we just want to make sure that we're coming into that fight looking to ult before the Reaper looks to ult.
Fire at will.
Okay. Zarya very much miss bad grab there.
Yeah.
I think so far you've shown that you have a decent understanding of whether or not you're winning or losing fights. So if you feel like you have a good grasp on if you've won or lost, say it for your team. So communicate and say, no ults, we've won. No ults, we lost, right? That way you're not over ulting. It helps prevent a little bit of over ulting. So it's not going to stop it, and don't have the expectation that it will stop every single over ult, but it will just up the chances of your Zarya going, oh yeah, we only have 2 people alive, right? And that means that we don't end up using grab in this situation. So that's the only thing you can do is just communicate. Okay, now we're looking for Nano Blade. Want to wait for our team to group up. We shouldn't even be poking right now because we have our ultimate, so poking does nothing here but give them support ult charge and potentially killing us. So we don't want to poke. Okay, good decision to back up. Right now we just want to wait for our team. Okay, not waiting on our team all the way. Give it an extra couple of seconds. Make sure you're paying attention to where your team is and checking behind you, because we do engage here at a 5v6, which puts us at a disadvantage, right? We're putting ourselves at a unnecessary disadvantage, because if we waited an extra 3 seconds, we would have been at a 6v6. Okay, so I like the dash up here. Let's see what we do with it. I'm going to just slow us down to like 75% here.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Alright, so again, losing track of people very easily. This does seem to be an overlying issue. When it comes to improving this is a very difficult one to kind of improve, especially it's looking like we're losing people when we're dashing in. So practice that when you're in training range, dash through people, make sure you're trying to focus on, okay, if I'm, you know, if the person is in front of me and the dash is going past them, I'm turning around. Okay, if I'm dashing through and if they're looking in a certain direction, they might be moving that direction. We just need to get a good grasp on understanding where people are moving and finding them, as it's taking us a long time to find them. If you ever end up completely missing somebody, do a quick 360 and look all around you for them, because that will let you see like kind of a blur of them, and when you see the blur, then you can lock on to where they actually are. The other thing when it just comes to improving at the game is really make sure you're focusing in on this, because, you know, for all I know, this might not even have been something that was on your radar, and now that it is on your radar, make sure that you're concentrating on it while you're playing. If you just autopilot through your gameplay, nothing's ever going to change. You're never going to get better at anything. So while we're playing, look to make sure you're focusing on making sure you're acquiring the target and you're not losing them, and then that will, as you focus on it, that will get better, and it's going to become a habit. You're not going to mess up with it as much. Okay, did we get bubble when we dashed it? I wasn't paying attention to that.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Alright, so you're just going to watch that here, dash up, Yes, we do get bubble. Okay, so if that wasn't communicated, just make sure to communicate that in the future. If it but it might have been. So good job if you did. I'm gonna watch this 75.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Double
Okay, seems like we have a very decent grasp on our dash range and our dash, and we're getting a lot of good dash finish kills. And I like kind of the combos that we go for with our dashes. So it looks like we have very solid grasp on dash. It's just like acquiring targets after the dash is over is a big problem. Deflect usage. I haven't seen. I think most of the time we're using it defensively. Keep in mind it can also be used offensively, and you don't always just need to use it defensively. So we can deflect fire strikes, especially compositions that have a lot of spammy elements. This one doesn't have as much because you can't really deflect Reaper spam. Zarya doesn't have anything you can deflect. Brig can't deflect anything. So they have less than other compositions might to deflect. But so especially with other compositions, what you can do is like kind of get in their face and kind of get in front of your tanks, and as long as you're being careful that they don't stun you, you can just deflect all damage right back into them and get a ton of damage in, and hopefully ult charge off of it. It can be just as effective or even more effective than dash when it comes to getting ult charge, especially when they're grouped up in a tiny little choke point. um, Here, the only thing really that I would be looking to just deflect on a regular basis would just be the fire strike, but that's pretty much it. So not much to say on deflect for this game in particular. I'd probably say mechanics are on the weaker side, not necessarily with the blade because I've only seen one blade so far, but especially with acquiring targets and then also just tracking and making sure we're hitting right clicks. Right clicks and left clicks, knowing when to use both of those will prop up your mechanics. So even if there's a lot of things that go into mechanics that aren't just direct raw mechanical skill. You knowing when to left click and when to right click is going to give you more accuracy and let you hit more shots, even if it's not you actually aiming any better. Okay. I think we're gonna have to talk about something. I'll talk about something else in the future when we go back over it. Actually, we'll talk about it there. So where were we here? Like 5:20. Okay, so we'll exit out and go in the practice range. So when we dash through people, okay, we if we know that dash is gonna go past them, like they're right here on us or they're right here on us, and we know that dash's distance is pretty far, right? At 10 meters, right? Dash is like 15 meters long, so we know that dash is pretty far. If they're within that 15 meters, then what we can do is so we don't go super far past them, and then if we go super far past them, the follow up becomes very difficult. It's hard to kill them if we go far past them. So what we can do to stop that is dash into the floor. So this is especially helpful if you get a jumping, so you have a better down angle to work with. But this can also work if you're just looking at their feet, right? So when we dash at their feet, we do the damage, and we still end up right next to them. So we can follow up with the right click, follow up with a melee if we need to, right? So just dash at their feet. That way we're ending up closer than dashing straight through them, which is as I demonstrate when we go back here, and you did dash like past the Ana, which meant that following up and killing her was much more difficult. So okay, again, dashing through makes the follow up difficult. Okay, but dashing at their feet means that we can look up very easily and be pretty much right on top of them. All right, so make sure that when they're right next to us, we can. Like I said before, jumping gives you a better angle for it. So when we're on the second jump, we can look down easier. Okay, but you can still do it even when we're right here. Right, it just means that we're ending up closer than going all the way past them with a max dash range.
Arriving at watch point.
Alright, so if we come here and look at you going on Ana, look, how we dash is we dash past her, and then we turn around, and boom, she's already, like 10 feet away from us, or meters away from us, right? So this then allows her to get nade off and bubble, and then now she's staying alive because of the delay there is, because of how far away we started. So, or how far we were after we dashed through her. So, us dashing too far past her results in us not being able to secure that kill. Okay, good dashes. Okay, you have very, very good usage out of your dashes, and you know what you're doing with them. So, especially with the timing of knowing who and when to go on people. Besides that, first mess up at the very beginning.
Yeah. It's like 50-50.
Yep. Just gotta. The game is all about just getting rid of inconsistencies and getting more efficient at things and getting rid of mistakes, and that's how you get better. All right. Okay, good. We understand the range we're working with. Okay. Right now, we probably, instead of taking a frontal angle, it'd be better if we were sticking up top left area. That way we can duel people if they come up the stairs. We can wrap around and stay above them. The only character we need to watch out for is the Echo, right? Because nobody that can get to us besides the Echo. Reaper we can get away from super easily. Echo is kind of a counter to Genji, as her beam can go through his deflect, and her stickies are relatively easy to hit on him. And it's very easy to track him with the beam. So as long as she hits either stickies or 1 or 2 shots on you and then beams it down, it's a very easy kill. So we just got to be very careful and aware of her. But we could probably be looking for more aggressive positioning here. Looks like maybe we disconnected for a second, or if I don't know what that was, but it's fine.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
That's a this is now outside of our right click range, and we should be looking for left clicks. Very outside of our right click range. At this range, right? Even if we hit them, we're hitting them with one single shuriken, right? All right. So, target priority. So first off, tanks are usually not going to be our priorities when given equal opportunity. So, equal opportunity meaning you have just as good of a chance to either shoot at or seek out a supporter DPS. That means that you should be going on the supporter DPS, not the tank. As tanks have, for example, like most of them have 2 to 3 times the health. Sometimes like 4 times in the case of like Ball with shields. Um, they have defense tanking abilities. They have armor. They have 2 supports that can pocket them. In comparison, supports can as easily pocket DPS, and they can as easily pocket themselves, as DPS are smaller hit targets, so it's harder to pocket a DPS because Ana can't hit them nearly as easily as a big bulking tank. Supports pocketing themselves means that now Brig and Ana both have self healing, but especially in the case of other supports, most supports won't have very easily accessible self healing, and Ana in particular, right? It's a cooldown, so she can't just heal herself anytime she wants. So that means she only has one person pocketing her, right? So us going on tanks here, and there are going to be good opportunities where we go on tanks. I think we said this at the very beginning when we said we were looking for opportunities. We go on tanks when tanks are the only thing to shoot at, right? So when we have no opportunity at all to go on any of the supports or DPS, we go on tanks when they're low. We go on tanks when they're out of position. So here in this example, we can go on the enemy. Oh, that's our Reinhardt who's low. So no, we wouldn't even be going on them here. So really here we should be looking to focus, for example, probably say Ana would be our #1 priority here. Brig's gonna have a little bit more tankiness, Reaper's gonna have tankiness, Echo we can look to finish off pretty easily too. So Ana and Echo are probably gonna be our 2 main priorities here. So for example, something we can do is drop behind them rather than dropping in front of them on their tanks, because here what I'm getting from us dropping in this scenario is we're not thinking about what's the best person for us to be going on, which is Ana in the scenario. One other thing to go on that topic is just DPS and supports in general have more statistical output than tanks do. Tanks are very good. Their role exists to prop up and support uh, supports and DPS, but us taking out DPS and supports are the kind of higher priority ones to be going for, because they just do more raw output. And now again, we're mixing this up where we're left clicking within a right click range, right? So right here, that's within right click range. That's within 15 meters, or the 20. I think we said 20 meters actually. 20 meters on right click. So this is also a big clump of grouped up teammates. So we're gonna be hitting something, even if it's gonna go past and hit something else. So we should be looking for right clicks here. And then we're also kind of very far out in the open. I haven't seen this too much, but we'll talk about it in depth in the training range if we need to. But just in general, keep in mind, and this is probably something we've also gone over in the past, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. If we're standing out in the open, we take a lot more damage than if we're next to something or in half a second we can go like this, boop, now they're out of our line of sight, they can't shoot at us, right? So we want to make sure we're not standing out in the open, but we have a place to go to. Okay. Okay, again, we're dashing in when we don't really have a plan out. Okay, it looks like we're gonna be able to kill Reinhardt, so that is better. But aside from the anti-nade here, the Reinhardt would not have died. You were propped up by the fact that your Ana helped you out. So essentially, here she helped you escape. If Reinhardt had not gotten antied, then we wouldn't have been able to secure that kill, right? Because he's gonna get pocketed by Brig and Ana, and he wasn't low enough for us to get that kill off of the dash or the right clicks. So here, the only reason why we're able to get out is because Reinhardt gets purpled. So just keep in mind, try not to dash in super aggressively when we're not able to finish something off, to be able to dash out, or we should have a plan to get out, or so that we can get out with deflect, or we can get out by going to the high ground. We can't just dash straight out into the open where we're dancing in the middle of their team now. We have to be very careful about that, because this is the second time we've done that. And then even if we got the Reinhardt, that still resulted in our death. Let's see, it looks like we dash in for something else too after we got the Reinhardt, because we didn't reset the dash. So we dash at the Zarya, so that's the problem here. When you see that you're out in the open like this, it probably would have been best to. Oh, actually, our whole team died anyways. So it probably would have been best to just die in the scenario anyways. So you're good, just fine. Our whole team was dead.
That was intentional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So looking for Nano Blade, looking to get the bubble for it too. Little bit of an aggressive engagement, as this Ana isn't isolated and she's not too low. Remember, we're looking for opportunities. Ana is burning and is at like half right now. The reason why this is, she has the health, the cart healing her. She has Brig right next to her. She's about to probably get healed in half a second here. She uses nade, right? This isn't a scenario where this is an opportunity. This is probably not an opportunity, which is why this is just a very aggressive dash. So we just gotta be careful of these aggressive dashes, as that's happening semi-frequently, because had that Brig not been AFK and had bashed us, we would have been dead there. right? And at a higher level, right, you get to diamond, you get to masters. You're gonna get slept, you're gonna get bashed, you're gonna have 3 or 4 people looking at you. So, just because that's not a mistake at your rank here, doesn't mean that it's not a mistake at a higher rank. And you always want to play as if you're playing at diamond, because otherwise you're not gonna be a diamond player if you can't hang with diamond games. So we need to get better at something like that, where that would have resulted in a death at a higher rank. Here it doesn't, because they don't punish it as hard. Okay. So we end up winning the fight.
Your portal. Get in.
Okay, again, over your team is over ulting. It seems like we have a decent grasp on when we're winning or losing. So communicate it with your team. Say, oh, that's cool pipes. Say, don't no ults. We won, right? Because there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2 players. This is a very dumb move by Urana. But the only thing we can really do to stop that is by just communicating. Alrighty, so now we're out of nano. We can just go for a blade with a bubble. We can potentially maybe wait for Reinhardt to get a shatter off and combo with shatter.
My ultimate is charging.
The other thing we could try to do as well is is we have actually they have a ton of ults. So we probably just should use blade here. And when we're blading, we gotta pay attention to some of the ults that they have. They're gonna have rally here, so that's just gonna make people more tanky. So if we blade and they pop a ton of ults to try to stop us, we might want to just play a little bit more passive with it. Especially since we're not wasting nano, it's not as pressing of a matter to get kills. Maybe try to focus on one person and be happy with the one kill. Especially if they use like rally or something like that, because that is the biggest defensive ultimate they're gonna have here. Okay, good kill. That's an isolated target who's also pretty low, so that's a much better dash in than the one on the Ana, who's with her entire team, has healing, like 3 different sources of healing that she can heal herself with, and has protection from her team. Here, she's isolated, she's by herself, she's half HP, so that's a much better dash.
Get in there, Bob.
Okay, good spot. Honestly, we have very good awareness of what's going on around us, aside from like the couple of instances where we've gotten very aggressive. It seems like we have very good awareness. We know what's up with the enemy team. We pay attention to kill feed, it looks like, so we understand when we're winning or losing. We're not over ulting in fights where we know that we've won. So it looks like that's a very strong suit of ours. It's a very strong suit, very good strong suit.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Here we have grab. We can look to combo blade with grab. That is a very good combo. Just request the bubble still, as you might end up getting shredded if we don't. But this can be a very blade grab is a very effective combo if you don't have the nano to go with. Outside of right click range on a single target. Yeah, we hear they're all below us. We want communicate with your Zarya when you're looking to do a combo like this, because because we need to communicate. Zarya, you need to grab first here, right? You need to grab early. You can't wait on it, because if Zarya waits on grab here, then we end up losing. Just don't be demanding with it. Say it as a gentle reminder. Say, hey Zarya, we have grab blade here. Look to use it early, right?
Yeah. I told her, sorry, that I was ready
Yep.
beforehand.
Because the longer we wait, the more chances we give them to win, as we talked about with ulting late. Request healing when you're low. Pay attention to your health. Make sure you're support when you I haven't seen us request healing at all. When you're low, requesting healing lets them know where on the map you are. It's an audio cue, so it they can hear where you are at. So if neither support is looking at you, it means that one of them turns around and looks at you. So make sure requesting healing more often. A good combo. Yeah, very nice. Okay, first dash was perfect. Second dash not very good. Again, it's like half and half here. First dash, Anna's isolated. She's by herself. The team walks in without her. Look at where the rest of her team is, right? Brig's not on top of her. Zarya's not there to bubble her. She's burning. She's half HP. This is a good scenario to dash in. Second one, not so good, right? We just get super aggressive within Brig's bash range. If Brig is a good Brig, she'd bash you right here. You'd be stunned, and then you'd probably get burned down because you're also dashing in within Reinhardt's range. You're right here. We're getting super aggressive on two brawl characters, right? You don't get they're better close range characters than you are. You don't want to get within that range on top of them because that lets Brig bash you. That lets Ryan swing on you. You get swung on by the Brig. So this is just a very aggressive dash when there's nothing low, no one's out of position, no one's gonna, we have a very hard way to get out here. We might have to like deflect to get out, but Zarya can also just beam us down if she turns around. So in this scenario, this is not a good dash. Now, we're about to die here too, and the only reason why we get out is because of the fact that we shatter. So again, we're bailed out by the fact that they're bad and they're plat, and we also, our team bailed us out. Also look to deflect here, as we don't deflect, and that could potentially save us on some damage. It won't stop the Zarya, but it will stop Reinhardt and Brig from damaging you. Okay, now those are good dashes, because we're getting the resets, getting kills in. Probably don't want to dash into a Death Blossom unless you know that it's the finishing blow and you're killing him with it, because otherwise you're just going to get burned from it. So again, like, I feel like it's very half and half with our good dashes and our bad dashes. So probably say that's going to be one of the biggest things to work on, is getting consistent with those ultimates so that we're not feeding with them. Or not those ultimates, yeah, with those abilities, right? Getting consistent with dash so that we're not feeding with it. Make sure you're requesting healing. You're coming into this next fight with full HP, not down up 55 HP. When we're spamming, make sure we're aiming head level, right? Look at where crosshair's at. That, therefore, all body shots. Again, crosshair, look at comparison. And that was a pretty decent dash. Brig was out of position. She pushed too far forwards and she was low. Good dash. That was a good dash as well, because even though it's on a soldier, you have deflect available. They're both, you can get dash damage through both. They're kind of on their own. They don't have any stuns for you besides the sleep, and you have deflect for that. Right? They don't have a bash that can just get through it. So that was I think that was I probably say that's like a high risk, high reward dash. It wasn't very it wasn't a bad dash. It also wasn't like a fantastic one, but it was doable. Okay, good fight. Well played. Make sure you're aiming head level with these shurikens. We're hitting a ton of body shots. We just want to make sure we're hitting headshots. Headshots mean you're doing more damage. When you're doing more damage, you get kills faster and you get more ult charge. When you're getting more ults and you're getting more kills, that means you're winning more fights and you're winning more games as a result. So on top of that, when you're killing something faster, that means they have less time to get healed, they have less time to escape, they have less time to use tanking abilities. So Zarya has less time to use bubble here and less time to get that cooldown back. So us killing stuff faster is always going to be better, because we can secure the kill and make sure it's dead without giving it time to stay alive. Okay, here, Nano Blade, communicate it, say we have it. I think you've been saying that you've been communicating with your Zarya, so I think it's that's good that you're communicating. Ask for the bubble again. Probably don't get aggressive in on the Brig. Brig's not a character that you want to get too aggressive on, unless like you can keep what you want to do here instead of dashing in on top of her is keep a range outside of her bash, outside of her whip, like her, sorry, not what, her flail. That's what it's called. Because you can do that. You have more range than her. Just dance right outside of her range, poke at it for her for a bit. Then when she's low, then you dash in. Here we dash in immediately, and then that means that she's able to bash us. She's able to whip shot us. She's able to get damage in on us, and then that I didn't check if we died here, but that puts us at 20 HP last time I saw, right? Because and then she also backs up and gets healed. So just poke her out more and then go aggressive. Don't dash in immediately. Okay, let's see. Does that kill us? Okay, we again, because of rank, we escape. Just because a mistake isn't punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake. You know, hey, at a better rank, 20 HP is nothing, right? That goes away in an instant. Hey, very good. Dash up. Looks like we don't get bubble, so it might have been on cooldown. Yeah, it was on cooldown. We used that on the Reinhardt here. Let's watch it. Okay, here we end up dashing too far, so dash into the floor.
We will fight again.
Okay, very nice dashes. Okay, got a little bit too aggressive on this Arya, right? Play a little bit closer to cover. Don't stand out in the open. Those dashes on low HP targets are good, but again, it's half and half. Dashes on low HP targets good. Dashes on full HP targets who are supported by their team, who can beam you down through your deflect, are not good because then we end up dying there.
Again.
Nice kill. That was a good opportunity to dash in. That was well played. Good kills again. Just be careful of dancing out in the open like this. We gotta make sure that we're not, because at a high rank this is gonna be punished. Again, same thing. We're not playing next to cover. We're playing super far out in the open, away from our team. So make sure that this isn't happening too often at a higher rank, because this will get punished a lot easier. I think that us starting off on the high ground was really good, and us killing the Junkrat was good. We just are staying here too long is the issue. Okay, deflect. I think your deflect usage is very weak. Whereas your dash usage is very on and off. You have very good usage of dash. I feel like our deflect usage is on the weaker side, and we do want to look to use that a bit better. As potentially there we deflect a fire strike and stay alive. Make sure your deflect has two purposes. First off, it gives you survivability, so you can stay alive longer. You use it when you see projectiles coming in, when you see someone is looking at you and about to shoot you. You use it when you're 1 HP. Then the second purpose is you use it for damage. We can use it to deflect abilities such as nade, such as sleep, such as fire strike, such as what else do they have on their team? We can deflect Junkrat shots back into him, Helix back in the soldier, right? We can deflect grab, right? There's a ton of stuff that we can deflect. We just want to make sure we're looking for it to do extra damage, to do more damage to people, so we can finish them off, because it's a nice little, in duels especially, right? When you're in a 1v1, that allows you to take their advantage, right? So think an Ana, you take their advantage. Ana's advantage there is her sleep and her nade. You take that and you flip it around, then you make it your own advantage. So make sure that we're looking to use deflect a little bit more often, looking to use it in better scenarios, because oftentimes we're using it very infrequently, and when we do use it, it's not getting a ton of value. Here we just don't use it at all, right? When we could have used it to stay alive longer. We also died not just because we didn't use graph, not just because we didn't use deflect, but also because we were playing way too aggressively again. So make sure we're not playing. Genji can be an aggressive character, but you're aggressive in certain scenarios, not aggressive all the time, 24/7.
I will not waste this chance.
Okay, so we're coming back in with Blade. Let's see. Probably don't need it, as we might. Okay, so it's a 4v4, and they almost have another player back too. So we probably look to use Blade here. We don't have Nano for it. We don't have Grab for it because Zarya's dead. So we probably just look for a flat-out Dry Blade here. Now, if we start getting picks, we might not need it.
30 seconds remaining.
Oh, it looks like we're lagging a little bit. Make sure you're not running, again, super aggressive. Use your abilities as a... there's a lot of things that measure your aggression, right? A lot of things that impact how aggressive should we be. Use your abilities as another measure for how aggressive should we be. When we don't have abilities, we don't have a way to escape. We don't have a dash to get away. We don't have a deflect to get away. We're a sitting duck when we don't have our abilities. So we can't be getting aggressive when we don't have our abilities here. And on top of that, we probably don't want to be running straight into a visor, right? So here we just get way too aggressive when we don't have anything to back it up. And then that's probably going to result in us dying here, I would imagine, because we're just running straight into a visor.
30 seconds remaining.
Right, so when he deflects here, right, or when he visors here, we hear him visor, we have the deflect up. This is where we back up and walk to the right, where now he's getting out of our line of sight, or we can back up and climb up to the high ground, or we can back up and get around this corner, or we can even just back up and get behind our Reinhardt, right? Multiple things we can do here that all involve backing up. The thing not to do is run into him, because that's how we die. Okay. Point made.
Yeah, really.
I will
10
not.
seconds.
Alright, we're coming back. We see kill feed. Okay, we're 5v5. We're coming back. We're going to be a 6v5 in a second here. It's last fight. So I imagine because there's another 8 minutes that this is not, or 7 minutes that this is not last fight. But here we should be coming in looking not for a Nano Blade, but looking for a combo with the grab. Because we win off of that grab combo, they don't have anything to stop it.
You look tired. Overtime.
Okay, so essentially there, yeah, I think it was a good decision to hold on to it because we had ended up losing the fight before we even got there. But we did essentially lose the fight for our team by feeding in the fight before, right? Oh, not a situation where you probably want to go for that, right? Don't attempt to be a hero because in this scenario, it's better to wait for the next fight. All right, it's a... let's see, it's a 1, 2, 3 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Ash is 1 HP. Zarya's half, you're half, or you're down a little bit of HP, right? This probably isn't going to go too well. This is most likely, I would say, is a lost fight. That means that we don't want to use our ultimates here, and us using our ultimates here just results in us wasting them, and then that's going to allow them to steamroll your third point. So it's better here to just take the higher percent chance of winning, right? We could be heroes here. It's definitely like every single fight is winnable, right? You might have a 10% chance of winning this, a 20% chance of winning this, but it's better to give them that. They have a 90% chance of winning this, an 80% chance of winning this. Give them that chance. Come to the next fight where maybe now, because you have your big grab blade combo, if you come into this next fight with that combo, you now have a 60-70% chance of winning that fight. So you have the advantage instead of them. Here we make it so that first off, we're coming into this fight with a disadvantage, and then now we're coming to the next fight with a equal advantage or a disadvantage where we could have the advantage. Okay, so make sure you're just paying attention to kill feed. I think you have a decent grasp on it, so I won't go too far into it, but 1 to 2 people is an advantage for whatever team has it. 2 to 3 people is pretty much a win for whichever team has it. So you play aggressively based off of that. If you have picks, you play aggressive. If you have, if you've won a fight, you play super aggressive. You play passive when you're down people. You look to get out when you're down people, and you don't use ultimates when you've won or lost a fight. But so far we have had a decent grasp on that, so I didn't want to spend 5 minutes going over that.
Try me.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay, with that deflect, look to, since Fire Strike is a projectile, look to deflect after he's fire struck, as instead of trying to predict it, as that's going to be more efficient because you can react to it fairly easily. Um, Also, I just realized. Sorry about this. We're running out of time here, and I was gonna go over kind of do a wrap up. So we'll do a wrap up real fast, but I forgot to do that, so it might have to be very fast here. So on Genji, you talked about a bunch of different stuff. Kind of going over the main points here and maybe some other side points. Probably say the number one thing I like to see worked on is your ability usage, particularly your dash, but then also your deflect. Dash, you're very inconsistent with it. Half the time it's fantastic. Half the time, and I was about to say in that right before we left there, that was also a very risky dash there at the end, right? Most or half of our dashes here are very risky, where we're not dashing in when we have an opportunity. So make sure when you're dashing that it's when, or getting aggressive, is when you have an opportunity. So when someone is low, when someone is out of position, when you have an opportunity to go in on them, when you have your ultimate, right? Now we don't do it when they're within their team and they have a bunch of stuns. So we want to just make sure we're not getting aggressive in the wrong times, because it's honestly killing you a lot of the time, and it's gonna kill even further at higher ranks because you're just in bad positioning a lot of the time because of how you're dashing. Deflect, I'd like to see you using better usage out of it. It's very weak currently. You don't use it very often. I'd like to see you use it more often. And with it, I'd like to see us looking to use it for survivability, as well as just use it to deflect damage back at the enemy team a little bit more better. Blades, I'd say we have a decent grasp on. We're not getting big blades off, and we're holding onto it a little bit. So maybe look to use them a little bit more loosely, and especially when we're using it, make sure we're using it at the very beginning of fights. We're not using it in the middle of fights or after fights are won or lost. That way we don't let them use their ults first. Make sure we're asking for all those different things to go along with it. But so far, from what I saw, I think blade usage was definitely not one of our weak suits. I probably say number 2 thing to work on is going to be our mechanics, as we're especially near the start of the game. We were very inconsistent on locating people. So we'd dash through them and then be like, huh, where'd they go, right? With our dash, or when we were blading, we'd lose people very easily. So make sure that you're practicing keeping track of people through your dashes, or when you're right next to them, so that you're not losing them. When you don't know where they're at, do a quick look around, and then you locate them because you see the little blur, right? You do a quick look around, and we find them because we see just the little red blur on our when we look to the right, so we kind of zero in on where they're at. Big issue as well, I'm going to lump in with mechanics, is left clicking and right clicking. Here is we have been misusing those, so make sure you're left clicking anytime you're past the 20 range mark, or when you're going on a solo target here within 20 meters. Right click when you're using it on a tank or within a big group of people. It's at 20 meters is kind of where you're using it. And then as you're getting closer, if it's a single target, you're only using it like when you're right up next to them, like right here, right within 5 meters. Okay. Third thing we're gonna talk about is, I guess, what would be number 3 thing to work on? Probably just say positioning. Let's say positioning is number 3. Make sure that you're next to cover. You're not standing on the open. You're not dashing on the open. You're not spending an enormous amount of time just standing right out in the open like this. You want to make sure that you're standing closer to walls, corners, objects that can stop damage from coming to you, so that we're not dying super easily, as that's just happening a lot of times where we're dying unnecessarily. And also position up the high grounds when you have the chance to, as they're really great positioning. Crosshair placement, make sure you're aiming head level. That's lumped in with mechanics. Besides that, that's pretty much all the main points. Do you have any questions on anything that we've gone over?
Not really.
Alrighty. Well then, let me end the recording here.